All right, so our fourth and final video when it comes to the idea of rates and ratios is unit rates. And unit rates, the one key thing about the idea of unit, you have to get your mind wrapped around the idea that it has to have a denominator of 1. About half of you, anytime you come across a question when it talks about unit rates, you remember, well, that just means that it's a rate or it's a ratio with a denominator of 1. And there's about half of you that haven't remembered that. So if you can just remember that when we talk about unit rates, we're talking about 1 unit and what the rate is or the value is for that 1 unit. So when we get into it, they give us examples here. But let's look at some practice problems and we'll work through the ones that they give us. It says determine the better by comparing unit rates. And if I just look at which one it is, it's a guessing game unless I find the unit rate, and the unit rate has to be for 1 item. So the first one says 20 pins for $1.60 or 25 pins for $2.25. Some of us would say, well, I get more here, even though I'm spending more. I don't really know which one is the better value. And you can't determine the better value without finding the unit rate. So when it comes to unit rate, my very first thing that I do is I write the original rate that they give me. So I have $1.60 that I'm spending on 20 pins. When it comes to the second one, then I have 25 or $2.25 for 25 pins. So a fraction is always what type of math? We've asked that many times throughout the year. It's just simply division. And then I have to know which one goes inside my division box. It's always the top number. It has nothing to do with the size or the value of the number. Had a couple of you mess that up on last week in our math lessons. Has nothing to do with the value of the number. It has to do with the fact that it's the top number. It's the numerator that has to go inside my division box. So I'm going to divide $1.60 by 20, or I take my handy dandy calculator and I type it in first. Whatever's inside the division box or my numerator has to be typed into my calculator first, and then I can divide. So I can take $1.60 divided by 20, and I'm going to see that it's 8 cents per pin. Well, what about the one that's 25 pins? Same thing, numerator or inside the division box. I'm going to take 2.25 and divide it by 25, and I'm going to see that those are 9 cents per pin. So which one is the better value? Well, the one that I'm spending less money, even though it's a cent less, but if I turn around and bought 1,000 pins, I'm going to save some money. So I want to spend the 20 pins for $1.60. These are set up the same way. Which one is better? Write a rate for each of these to begin. And then it'll ask about which one is better. So I have 13 berries for $2.60 or 17 berries for $3.06. Well, I'm still going to set it up as my original rate that's given to me, $2.60 over 13. And then my second one is $3.06 over 17. And then I'm going to divide. And my division will always be dividing by the denominator, so I know I'm going to find out the price for 1, which is my unit rate. Type it into my handy dandy calculator, 2.60 divided by 13 equals, I find out that I'm spending 20 cents per berry. Well, what about the second one? Well, I take the top number, my numerator, 3.06 divided by 17 equals, and I find out that it's 18 cents for 1 berry. So that's my better buy. So which is the better buy? The 17 berries for $3.06. So what I'm doing on this lesson is getting a denominator of 1 to find out what the unit rate is for what I'm doing or what I'm comparing. Sometimes they're going to give them to us and we're just going to be missing a piece. Well, if this is my unit rate, then what would I be spending if I bought this many? So in one of our previous lessons, we talked about dividing the loop. So when it's an algebra comparison with this equal sign in between, then I know if I multiply the loop, which are the two diagonally that are paired up, and divide by that lonely number, I'm going to easily find out what that missing number is. So when I look at it, they're setting it up by breaking it down to smaller units. Okay? I believe this is more difficult, but as we have said all year long, If this way is easier for you to understand than dividing the loop, which I'll do over there, then please follow this process. I generally teach it the easiest way that I think the majority of our class is going to understand. Whichever way you understand better and you can reproduce and get your answers correctly over and over and over again, I'm fine with you doing it. If we follow their process then, we're going to look at the unit rate, and I know I need a denominator of 1. That's why we're dividing by 20. Because if I divide 20 by 20, I know I'm going to get a denominator of 1. That would then let me change it into the next fraction. So if I divide the denominator by 20, I have to divide the numerator by 20. And 120 divided by 20 is going to give me 6. Now with the denominator of 1, I can ask, well, can I do something to 6 to get 300? Because up here, I can't do anything to 120 to get 300. I can't multiply it or divide it by something. So I had to change my fraction that I was using. Well, indeed, I can multiply that 6 by 50, which they show you down here. And if I multiply my numerator by 50, then I'm multiplying my denominator by 50. And that tells me that I would get, if I'm buying 300 of them, that my denominator would be 50. If this is more complicated, which for me it is, I like the shorter way, then I would just simply multiply the loop, divide by the lonely number. It's called dividing the loop. I would take my 100 times 90. Now that would give me bigger numbers to work with, but I don't have to go through all of this process of reducing and then increasing. But if I multiply 100 by 90, I get 900. Dividing by the lonely number, well, my lonely number is 15, so 15 goes into 900 60 times. So I know my missing numerator is just 60. Now on your answer, if you want to put the entire fraction of 60 over 100, I would count that as well. Now, it depends on how it's shown to you. If it has just the boxes equal to, like these practice problems do, then you want to just put the 60 or the whole fraction. But if they don't give you this box is equal to or this letter is equal to, then you would need to show the whole fraction as your answer. When I look at number 3, I notice that my pairing here, my diagonal, is going in a different way. That doesn't change my math at all. I simply loop the 2 that are there diagonally, multiply them together. 90 times 22 is 1980. Then I divide by my lonely number, which is the 44. I take 44, divide by 1980, excuse me, divided by 44 in my handy dandy calculator, and I find out it's 45. So the box is equal to what? Well, the box is equal to the 45. And then on number 4, I'm going to multiply my loop again. So I have 45 times 54. That's going to give me 2,430. What am I dividing by? Well, here my lonely number is a 10. So if I divide by 10, I'm going to go in 243 times. So my box is equal to 243. Very basic assignment, very basic lesson. It's just remembering that I have to break things down into a unit of 1. So now you're going to have some story problems that you have to look at and figure out what it's saying and break it down into units of 1, or do some of the problems just like we did on the practice problems. Very short video today, so it should be pretty easy for you to get through, get the assignment done, and not have to worry about homework tonight if you simply use the time that I give you. If you have any questions, then you can come and ask.